Welcome to So You Want to Be a Real Estate Agent. This is season 5, Success Stories. And we are so excited to share a success story with you guys today. We have Garrett and Chelsea Zimmerman on the podcast with us, and they go by Team Zimmerman. They are out of Red Deer and Alberta, Central Alberta area in Canada. And they're going to tell us about how they became successful as a husband and wife real estate team, how they balance life. They have 3 teenage boys. So I want to hear about that, how you keep it all together, and how you guys are finding success in a market that I think most agents would characterize as pretty challenging. So Garrett and Chelsea, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having us.
Totally my pleasure. My pleasure. All right. So tell me a little bit about what got you into real estate to begin with. Did you get in together, first of all?
No, we did not. It's a bit of a journey. So Chelsea started first, so I'll let her share, and then we can jump into how we ended up here together.
Yeah. Okay. So real estate was always kind of on my radar, but I do have a background in finance. So I worked at a financial institution for 9 years. I was on the front line, so I was a teller. And basically, I always used to see realtors coming in and, I'd chat with them. And at the time I had 2 little kids. I was a single mom. And, I aspired to it, but it was never really in the cards because it's all commission, right? And then during COVID, I actually started doing social media management for a company here. And I ended up managing a social media page for a realtor in a different part of the province. And in doing that, I learned so much. And when layoffs happened, unfortunately, I did lose my job. And Garrett looked at me that day and said, I think it's time to get your license. And so I did. And it honestly has just been the most incredible journey. Even when I was taking my license, I told Garrett, I was like, you're going to join me. You're going to join me someday. And he had a corporate job at the same financial institution. That's how we met.
Okay.
And yeah, I'll kind of let him get into how he got into it. But as I was taking my course, I just had this feeling. I'm like, he's going to be doing this with me someday. Like, we're going to do this together. So yeah, it's pretty crazy.
That's a cool story, and kind of a giant leap of faith for you both to put all of your eggs in the real estate basket. So I want to hear about that from you, Garrett. Like, what was that like when Chelsea was like, I think that you should do this too? Is that kind of how it went?
Yeah, she threw it on the table. It would have been in January of this year. And, at the time I was in a corporate job, I had been there for, 14 years. It was steady income. It was predictable. It was comfortable. I had, benefits. There was predictable income. So we were sleeping pretty easy at night. And then, similar to what's happened in a lot of organizations, the organization I was working with went through a restructure, and I was one of the people that was let go. And so I was all of a sudden in this space where Chelsea had been previously. And after I kind of licked my wounds for a day or two, I started to think about, and we talked about the idea of real estate for me. And I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Leap of faith, absolutely, because we were like, it's all commission based. We don't sell, we don't eat. We've got 3 mouths to feed, plus ourselves. And the mindset shift that I had to struggle with the most was going from predictable, stable, guaranteed income, where we could plan, predict, and know what was coming, to all of a sudden jumping in. We're doing this, and if we don't sell, if we don't make money, if we don't do business, maybe this real estate thing isn't going to last very long, but heck, let's give it a try and see. So I did. I started to get licensed, and 3 months later, I was ready to go, and I was offered a job by the broker where Chelsea was working, and he said, why don't you come and join our team? So we did, and we haven't looked back since. It's been amazing.
Wow. So you threw it, you just threw it all in, and you were just ready to rock and roll. That's pretty amazing. And sometimes I hear team leaders especially say, or broker owners say, if there's still like a life ring out there, it's really hard for agents to let go if they're dual career, especially. So you guys didn't give yourselves that option. You just went, there's no life ring. We're swimming. Like we're getting across this channel one way or the other. We're both in it together. We're holding on to each other, swimming across.
Right.
Very admirable. Tell me about how those first few months in real estate were. What were your thoughts? What did you do? What did your kind of schedule, or what were your protocols to get yourself into success?
Yeah, so just a little bit of backstory. So when I first started, I was obviously a solo agent, but I was part of a team when I first joined the brokerage that I'm at now. And I was under the leadership of a team lead. And then when Garrett joined, he actually joined the same team. But within a couple of weeks, we actually realized, you know what, the team structure and working under someone, under their brand, under their, kind of leadership, it wasn't for us. And it's a really great way to start in real estate. I'm grateful for the time that I was given on that team to build myself up. But at that time when Garrett kind of started, we were like, you know what? No, let's just, again, take another leap of faith. And we actually started our own team at the brokerage. And so during that time, we were very, very structured. We were very intentional. So Garrett has a degree in marketing, and with my social media marketing, we were able to really come up with a solid business plan. We had a previous business as well too. Like we did some relationship coaching prior, so we worked together in business before. Okay. And we've actually built up our relationship to the point where we do have good communication skills. We have good conflict resolution. There's some things that we are very strong and that we've worked really hard to get to that point. So once we started our own team, we were like, okay, pedal to the metal. We got to make this happen, because at that point it was sink or swim. Like we were like, we have to make this, we have to take off. So we really leaned into our broker and associate broker. We soaked up as much as we possibly could from them. We're very fortunate to work at a bit of a boutique brokerage. And so we do get poured into on a weekly basis by our broker. And so the knowledge that he has, he's been doing this for a very long time. And combined, him and his daughter, like they're a team as well. And so we learned a lot about working together, and how, and then from there, we took that knowledge and we applied the knowledge, because there's a lot of information out there. There's a lot. And I mean, I'm sure, like you're a source of it, and so, you take that information and then you have to actually apply it. And that's what we did.
Right. Okay. So much to unpack there. So I want to take you back for a minute to that beginning phase of being with the team and making the decision to go out on your own and form your own team. So you guys, you sound like pretty courageous people. I mean, clearly from the moves that you've already made to just get to this point. Was there anything in you that was fearful about jumping out on your own from under the team?
Initially, I was not sleeping well, because the team structure that we were in was designed in a way where the team lead was generating the leads for buyers, passing them off to us, and then we would facilitate and work through the sale. So it wasn't guaranteed that we would get leads, but it was guaranteed that we would get opportunities. And I had done a ton of research, because I kind of geek out on that stuff. And I had compared, pros and cons of team versus solo agent. And, there's the commission structure differences, but there's also some sense of predictability and security. And so Chelsea and I, leading up to that conversation with our team lead, when we said we were going to start our own team and branch off, we asked our friends, we met with family, we looked up to and got in touch with mentors who aren't in real estate but are in business. And we asked them tough questions like, how do you navigate fluctuating incomes? How do you navigate and build up your self-esteem to when you have a quiet month to keep on going despite all the self-talk that might be telling you to go get a predictable job, go back to, regular working hours. How do you deal with all of that from a mindset perspective? And we were poured into by mentors, older people who have kind of been there, done that. They've been where we were. So we were able to leverage their experience and we listened and we were sponges. We were sponges to that leadership. And at the same time, I was going out for a run every day and I was tuning into the latest episode of how you can be a real estate agent. And
so you want to be a real estate agent?
So you want to be a real estate agent. And I was just a sponge. I went into sponge mode. And I have to give thanks to other guests that you had on your podcast, yourself, the content that you have provided and made available that built up our confidence. And I would say to Chelsea, we can do this.
Yeah.
Like, I'm hearing success stories. We can go and replicate, do this, put our own spin on it and become a rock star team. So that's what we did.
Awesome. Give me like 1 or 2 tips for somebody who is thinking the same kind of thoughts that you were. Let's go to how to navigate fluctuating income.
Yeah. The biggest thing is and for me, this was trust yourself. Trust your skill set. And I've got 18 years of marketing and sales and business development background in a completely different industry. But at the core of what sales is and what the core of what real estate is, it's relationship-based solutions.
Yes.
And for me, when I sat with myself and Chelsea and I talked, we realized that we actually don't sell homes. We don't even relate to ourselves as real estate agents. We relate to ourselves as solution providers. That's what we do.
Love it.
And we don't come to the table and look at clients or people that reach out to us as, just a person that needs a home or a place to live. Like, they need a solution. They're coming to us for a reason. And so I've always believed, I had it poured into me early, that people don't buy products, they buy solutions to problems.
Yeah.
And so that's been a mantra of ours. And it's why we say people first, home second. That's our tagline, because at the end of the day, none of it happens without people. So that's what I would say is kind of one of the biggest things that we've embedded in our brand.
Yeah.
Well, and sorry, just to answer your question about the fluctuating incomes.
Yes.
So, for us, thankfully, we were in a position where, there was a severance that was paid out to Garrett from losing his job. And to be honest with you, I don't know if we would have made it through if we hadn't had that. But with that said, not everybody gets a severance when they leave their job and get into real estate. And so for us, we had to make sacrifices. There was a year when pretty much, well, I shouldn't say a full year. There were probably at least 6 months where all of the extras, we didn't have them. We didn't go for our, regular expensive coffees, and we didn't go out for dinner as often. And, we made sacrifices to build up enough money in our account that we could actually go, okay, if we don't have a deal this month, we're going to be okay. And I think that that's something that's super important, because a lot of agents don't realize that there is a sacrifice involved. You can't have your cake and eat it too in the beginning. You can't. You build up to that. And so you have to plan for the future, and you have to know how much money you need to have to pay your base costs. And in as much as you can, if you can try to do it this way, if you are in a dual income family, try to save up as much as you can, at least 2 to 3 months of income. That way you're safe. Okay, if it hits the fan, we're okay for 2 months, and I can take those 2 months and put the pedal to the metal and really make it work.
Yeah, very smart, very smart. It's almost like you're making an investment in yourself at the beginning via that sacrifice that is going to pay off if you keep all of your efforts in the right place. Now, you mentioned when you were talking originally about a business plan too. How important do you think having a business plan is in kind of trying to predict what can feel a bit unpredictable?
Yeah. So Garrett actually says it best. A dream without a plan is just a wish.
Yep.
And so what we do, and we kind of reverse engineered our business plan. We looked at our vision. And so what our vision is essentially to build a legacy for our family. That's our why. That's what we're doing. We are wanting to build a legacy through real estate, whether it's selling it, investing in it, that's where we've kind of, landed on for ourselves. But when we do things in our business, we look to that North Star and we go, okay, does this align with our vision? Is this contributing to our vision? And we've made a plan. Like I said, we've reverse engineered a plan as to, and I mean, yes, there's flexibility. You can still be flexible. You can still, if opportunities come up, you can, but you have to go back to what is your vision? Does this align with your vision? And you plan according to achieving said vision.
So smart. So you're really making sure that you're looking at everything through a really clear lens of focus that aligns with your plan. Now, we as realtors often have like these kind of like shiny objects put in our field of vision. And how are you handling that? For example, like there's a lot of new technology out there. Everybody, for those listening who might not be real estate agents, every service on the planet tries to sell to us, I guess, because either they know that we're easily distractible by shiny objects or they think we have deep pockets. But we get like all kinds of offers thrown across our desk. What has been your strategy for evaluating whether a new tool or a piece of tech is going to be something you adopt?
Yeah, so it's a very clear line, and we stay in our lane.
Yeah.
And we've had to remind ourselves of that when we've had the phone call or the email or the person who has the latest and greatest lead gen system. And what we have said from the beginning, because you say it so well, Meredith, there is an unending amount of channels, information, and experts who want to sell to agents. And we have a number of social media networks, channels to use. And depending on who you talk to, they're going to tell you, you got to do this on there. You got to be over there. You can't be all things to all people.
Yeah.
That's one of the first things that I think every agent needs to know. You will never be all things to all people.
Yeah.
So stay in your lane and get really damn good at a couple, 3 things, put the blinders on and really lean into those couple, 3 things.
Become an expert.
And first and foremost, when you're in your business plan, know who you're speaking to. Who is your ideal client? What do they think about? What are they worried about? What life stage are they in? Do they have kids? Do they not have kids? What type of home do they prefer? Where do they go in terms of events and community? What do they enjoy? And then go where they are and speak their language. And we have seen it in our first year with over 50 deals as a team. In our first year, it's unheard of. And we've looked at each other and been like, is this happening? Like averages 4 to 8 in the first year. And we are over and above that. And then some, and we've even had other agents say, I just want to come and hang out with you guys for a few days because whatever you're doing is working.
Yes.
Right. So I would just say, stay in your lane and become really damn good at a couple, 3 things and know who you're speaking to. Because
that audience
where it resonates.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you're exactly right. 50 deals in your first year is completely unheard of. And that's why it's so exciting to have you on the show sharing what you've done. I have a feeling there might be people in our audience who are like, well, they have a business background, they have a marketing background, and I heard you say before, lean into your skill set. So what is it, do you think, that for those people out there who might be listening to that, what we call their drunk monkey, saying, I don't know, I don't have that. What would your advice to those people be?
Yeah. So honestly, you have to leverage your strengths. And that doesn't mean strengths that you've learned in college or university or, that it could be, but I don't have a university degree. And I have a lot of really strong strengths that I bring to the table in real estate. I'm a relationship person. I love people. I love dealing with people. I have very good customer service skills, and most of us have some type of customer service skills. And if you don't, I don't know why you would be getting into real estate. But some people, you have to have a heart for people. Whereas Garrett, he's got an analytical brain. And so numbers come naturally to him. So he's able to, bring this is what your mortgage payment is going to look like. And, if you calculate this and, we're pricing the home based on these statistics, like all of those different things. So honestly, if you haven't had an opportunity to just sit down and list everything that you're good at, I suggest you do that first, because we've both done it. And we've both had to sit down and go, okay, what am I really good at? And thankfully, there's two of us, which does bring another whole element to the table. But even when I was doing it on my own, Garrett's actually the one that sat me down the one day and was like, okay, you're going to write down every single thing that you bring to the table in a positive way to real estate, to life, to motherhood, to all the things. And once you see that you actually have so much value, it builds your confidence too. And the more that you practice those things, then your confidence continues to grow and you continue to shine in that role.
What great advice. And for everybody listening, that's such a good exercise to do. Write down your strengths. And then I would think too, that you could translate that into a unique value proposition, which then you can articulate to that audience that aligns with those strengths. Now, you mentioned before too, Garrett, that what you consider yourself is your relationship, what did you say? Solutions, right? Business? Solutions business, which I love that phrase. And you're exactly right. It's the problems that we help people solve that they can't solve for themselves that create the demand for exactly what we do. And we do that through expertise, as you said, Chelsea. How do you find out about what people's problems are that they need you to help solve?
Yeah, I think is listening.
Yeah.
The best thing you can do in sales, whether or not it's homes, cars, clothes, toothbrushes, is listen.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes a lot of salespeople, they're really good talkers, but they don't listen enough. Mm-hmm. And we have heard this from other people who have worked with other agents and then have come to us and told us about an experience. And they will specifically tell us, like, the agent wasn't listening to what we really want. The agent wasn't listening to our budget. They weren't showing us homes that we were even like remotely interested in.
Yeah.
And then they reach out. So the first thing would be to listen. Yeah. And ask really good questions.
Yes.
That open the door to creating trust, establishing rapport, and then being very, very relatable in the sense of affirming how they're feeling. Like, we never tell someone that how they're feeling or the house they're choosing is the wrong one. It might not be the right one for the person down the street or the client we're going to meet in the evening, but it's the right one for that person in that moment. Yeah. So just listening to them, and then why they love it, what they love about it, what it could do for their family, how close it is to the schools, like all the different features. Yeah. And listening and leaning in is one of the ways to really, really do that, where all of a sudden the person on the other side of the conversation, they're not even looking at you as a realtor. They start to think of you as a friend. Yeah. And they start to think of you as someone that cares. And that's when it goes from just a transactional based business, where a lot of agents might see it, to a people based business, solution based. And it's for us the bread and butter of what we do.
Yeah. Absolutely. Really well said. And that also creates that long-term client relationship, referral relationship, all of the things that we hope will happen when we create a really good client experience. Talking about clients, we know we are in a compressed market right now. And I was just at the dentist this morning and they're like, well, nobody's selling houses, right? And how are you even finding houses for people? And I'm like, well, actually, people are selling, and things are just selling so quickly that it looks like inventory is low, but it looks like a really frantic market. How are you finding people to work with in a climate like this one?
Yeah, a lot of it is through networking, both face to face at events, at local community gatherings, as well as networking through social media.
Yeah, that's a big one.
A lot of people think social media is just content, just go and consume. Social media by nature is social, and getting social and getting into people's DMs, not for the purpose of real estate, but just a quick drop in like, hey, I noticed that you guys were out camping over the weekend. How was the trip? And what we do, and this is a little like secret of our success, is we don't just write a DM, we will do a voice DM.
Oh.
And it's more personable. The person hears you, they feel it differently.
Your
some
energy
people
comes through.
Right, and some people have even responded and said, I didn't even know you could do a voice DM in Instagram or in Facebook. And then so one, they're surprised by that because they learn and they're like, this is cool. But secondly, they hear someone's voice, which makes it more real, more human. Social media can feel really like just consume, click, like, comment, really like kind of automatic. And not really personable. So that was something I did. You asked earlier, like, what did your first few months look like? In my first month as an agent, I literally went into LinkedIn. I had a network of like almost 1,000, and I sat for 6 days straight, leaving voicemails, thanking them for their impact on my life, letting them know that I was in real estate, telling them that even if they weren't looking to buy in this market, if they knew people, if they had friends, family that were relocating to our community, feel free to give them my name. They can trust they're going to have a great experience. I'll take good care of them. And they were voice messages, and people responded back and they were shocked. So secret of success, drop into people's DMs with audio, not just written text.
That is a good one. Okay, tactically, how are you recording those audio messages?
They are one at a time, personable. They are not just an automated message. We did one automated message. We did a Christmas card last year where we had our boys record it. We sometimes have to put them to work because we need someone with a camera.
They're great with technology,
and they love it.
Teenagers,
right
now.
They're good for
so
that.
That was a generic message because it was standard and we had to send it out en masse.
Okay.
It was like literally hours of sitting on the couch or sitting in the car in a parking lot and just dropping into people's DMs. 45, 60 seconds, just quick enough to let them know you're thinking about them, ask them for a referral business, tell them that they can be, confident in sending people your way. And it's done wonders. It's one of our biggest sources of business when we look at where our deals came from, is through referrals from our professional network via LinkedIn.
That's amazing. And I love that you gave a little real expert tip there, which is open with the impact that the other person has had on your life, and then come in with, and if you know someone, or even if you're not thinking about making a move, giving that the request for a send of a referral. Oh my gosh, that's like a magic nugget that you just dropped there. Thank you for that. And it's funny, I was thinking as you were saying that, one of our Tom Ferry coaches who does coach training, his name is Bob McCraney, was giving us, he uses an Instagram DM strategy for lead gen as well. And he was saying Instagram, if you're on Instagram, a like is like a high five if you're at a party, right? And a comment is like you're giving somebody a hug, but a DM is having a conversation. And that's what we want to do in real estate, is getting into conversation. And I love the fact that you are actually using an audio message, because that is how we have conversations, is voice to voice, right? Not in like text or type. That's amazing. That's amazing. Such a good tip. All right. I wanted to ask you also about the teenage crew that you have. So you've got 3 teenagers, 3 boys, you said, right?
Yes.
Okay. How did it go for them? Because I know we've got a lot of people who are listening and have kids at home. And, we all feel that kind of like tug of investing so much time, energy, and effort into our businesses, and having a family, kids at home who still need us and need our time, no matter how old they are. If they're living with us, even if they're not, they still need us. How did you get their buy-in, and what's that been like, mom and dad being in this business together and three teenagers who probably have to be like carted around to games and doing all kinds of stuff if it's like my house.
Oh yes, very
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. So Garrett coached his son hockey for the last how many years? 9 years.
Wow.
So like last year when he was first in real estate, you know, he still coached. And for us, when we told the boys that we were, you know, getting into real estate, at first they were like, okay, like maybe this is another one of mom's like MLMs or something, like, you know, and they didn't really take it seriously. And that's okay, because it actually was more motivating for us to prove it to them, and not necessarily that we felt we had to, but it was just, it's, you know, that internal motivator of like, no, this is what we're doing, this, you know, we'll show you, just wait. And you know, the best advice that we've ever been given about, you know, family life and balance is that your family should get the best of you, not the rest of you. And for us, that has been a challenge, admittedly. I mean, we've made a lot of mistakes, but in making those mistakes, it's learning to not live in that guilt.
Yeah.
And to make changes in order to be able to actually, you know, to fix the problem. So whether that means that we're having, like, we always try to have dinner together every night as much as we can. You know, we are a blended family, as I mentioned. So, you know, Garrett's son is only with us for a week at a time. My kids are with us all the time. So, you know, we really prioritize our family time. And, you know, when we find that has maybe fallen to the wayside, we recalibrate really quickly. And we're like, what can we take off of our schedule so that we can make time for our family? Because our family at the end of the day is number one.
Yeah.
And, you know, so making your family that priority. And then, I mean, honestly, like being prepared. I mean, something that I've recently started doing is I bought a crock pot. And
so smart. Yes.
I make a crock pot meal, you know, once or twice a week. And we, you know, so that we can sit down and eat a meal together and it feels good. And we are just able to like catch up and talk to our boys and, you know, and yeah, I don't know if you want to add anything, but.
Yeah, I think the other thing is, you know, when we're sitting and when we're with them, whether or not it's a meal or in a car, driving somewhere, is like asking them questions about what's going on in their world, right? At school, with friends, you know, what are they learning? Things like that. And no different than, you know, creating rapport with your clients and asking questions is then listening to what they have to say. I think it's easy to be really distracted in this world.
Yes.
And our kids see that. And I, you know, we've had to remind each other at various times, like, if we don't get back to a text message for half an hour because a client is asking, who's a good home inspector? It's okay. Because if we're spending that half hour talking with our boys, that's okay. The home inspector is still going to be there in half an hour.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think sometimes agents feel this like responsibility to be really quick to get back to people.
Yeah.
And you set a bar and you set a standard when you do that. And then you get messages at all hours. And if you don't give that immediate response, then the person on the other end is kind of wondering, well, they were so quick before, but what's happening? Like, why aren't they answering me now? So it's really being intentional and being mindful of that. And then asking questions to your kids and get into their world.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, it's funny, you can even practice your listening skills that are really good for your interactions with clients on your kids. I did this actually with my 15-year-old. She came in one day last week and she sat down and I just started asking her. I was practicing my like active listening and some kind of like opening skills. And she was like, she had this long conversation with me about like what she wants to do with her life and what she's thinking about and the different options. She was like, that was a really good conversation. And then later on, she goes, were you like practicing something? It's funny, like they're smart. But I said, well, you know, I was listening to you, but yeah, also kind of. And she was like, okay, well, I felt heard. I was like, she's listening to my language clearly because that's how, you know, I talk. But it was such a nice feeling to know that like it actually, and it was so interesting to me because I heard from her I hadn't ever heard before. So it was pretty cool. How do you, and I know we're getting short on time, but I got a couple more questions I just have to ask you guys. How do you ensure that you're bringing your best self to your family when sometimes, you know, it is just inevitable in this business? We get hit with something that doesn't feel good, like right before we're about to walk in the door. There's a problem we know we need to solve for a client, and you're about to go home. Like, what does that process look like for you?
Yeah, I think for us is taking the time and being aware that if we need to take 5 minutes to like go to the bedroom and just like kind of reset before we engage is a really important practice. And how everyone resets is completely personal. But I know, you know, just as recently as yesterday, like I was in it. Like it was a heck of a stretch the last couple of days. And I phoned Chelsea. I was off to my last showing of the day. I shared with her what I was feeling. And she said to me, Garrett, as soon as you come home, you're putting your phone down, you're changing, you're getting comfortable, and you're just going to sit and you're going to turn it off. Mm-hmm. And so having that support from a partner, I think is really important. Yeah. And if you're in real estate, in a relationship, in a marriage, your partner knows those days happen. Mm-hmm. And so having the support and encouragement to like literally just turn it off and for that to be okay was really, really helpful, because then I was able to come home and really, really pour into where I needed to put energy, which was some one-on-one time, and not with clients, but with kids.
Yes.
And Chelsea, you know, said that. It took weight off of my shoulders. And then literally within 5 minutes, I'm in the door, I changed quickly, and then I'm out the door to go and have some one-on-one time.
With his phone off.
With my phone off.
Yes.
And totally disconnected. And doing it without feeling guilty, right? Chelsea mentioned that early. Sometimes we feel guilty. Yeah. We got to release that guilt and allow it to not hinder us, because otherwise you just start to become a bear to the people that are closest to you, and that's not fair to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Such a good tip. I think sometimes when agents start to get busy with the business of real estate, which feels great when the efforts that you've put in start to pay off, often we can get so pulled into exactly what you were talking about, the feeling that we need that quick response time, or kind of letting everybody else set our schedules all of a sudden, which it's funny when you talk to agents about why they get into real estate. Often they're like, for the freedom. And then before you know it, your freedom's out the window because you're working on everybody else's schedule. Yeah. But it's a bit counterintuitive. You find when you start to set your boundaries, I guess I'll use for lack of a better word, around your own schedule, people respect the professionalism that they're seeing you execute. And then they go, oh, okay, this person, even if you're setting an appointment to go shoot hoops with your kid or whatever, right? Like that's an appointment that you respect in your own calendar, and that causes a relationship with your children to grow, and actually your client base to see you as more professional as well. All right, last question, and then I promise we will close, which is, give us a tip or two. Now, you guys said that you worked hard on conflict resolution within your own relationship, which sounds like a whole other podcast that I'd love to have with you guys eventually. I know a lot of us listening, including myself, could use this sometimes. But a tip or two for making it work. You just gave us one, but as a husband and wife team in a real estate partnership.
Yeah, that's a really great question. I would honestly say that our biggest strength, and something that we have worked so hard on, is communication. Talking to each other, learning how to talk to each other, because there are days where we have to be very assertive with one another. There are days where we sometimes just have to say, you know what? Listen, I need to vent. I don't want any feedback. I just need to get something off my chest, and being able to communicate that in a way that's not going to make the hairs on the back of his neck stand up. Like, you know, and for us, like, just being able to sit down and talk through things, talk through problems, talk and share with one another, and provide a space that's safe to be vulnerable, because there are a lot of bumps along the way. I mean, with entrepreneurship in general, I mean, you're constantly giving of yourself to others. Sometimes you do feel like you're pouring from an empty cup, and sometimes you just have to be able to have the courage to say, hey, listen, I need to fill my own cup before my cup breaks. And so communication, if you can honestly, like, we took relationship coaching, we were coached, and then we became relationship coaches. But I mean, even if you just talk to people who you see in life that have really good communication, especially in entrepreneurship, like people who are business owners, other realtors, things like that, I would definitely say that has been such a strength for us. And it's been such a saving grace for us that we can talk to each other. And every morning, regardless of the day, regardless of whether we're working or not, we spend time together and we just pour into our relationship. We're faith people, so we do like a devotion in the morning. We spend time praying in the morning and breathing together. And honestly, it's just been such a game changer, because even actually, funny story, one little thing is, my youngest son, he's 15 as well. And he told me this morning, actually, when I was driving him to school, he said, "You and Garrett are in business together, and I don't think I've ever heard you fight over something business related." And I said, yeah, like we don't necessarily fight over it, because teamwork, that's all part of it, right? But I mean, you're going to have ups and downs, but it's because we communicate so well that I think that we've been able to really, and thankfully it's kind of like translating to our own kids, and it's been really
Awesome.
rewarding that way.
Total gift. Garrett, anything to add to that, or a tip you want to share?
Yeah, I would say there's two really important statements or questions that you can ask. And this is whether or not you're in, partnership with your like business partnership with your partner, or even just as an agent, as a solo agent at a brokerage. Like, don't be too proud to ask for help. In times when I'm watching her sink and she comes and asks for help and I'm there, and vice versa.
Yeah.
Ask for help. And then also ask, even if you see someone who's not, sinking per se, but like, is there anything I can do to make it a little easier on you?
Yes.
And those are just two really good questions that you can put to your broker. You can put to another agent in your brokerage. You can put to your husband or wife, your partner. Like, how can I help you? And what do you need from me? And I mean, you'll breathe easier. You'll be happier, you'll feel more supported, and you'll probably learn some things too, which is always a good thing.
Absolutely. And it's such an act of generosity to do that. The response that I think people get when they take that moment to ask that question is such like genuine, beautiful surprise, because people don't get asked that very much, so it feels like this gift that you've just been given. Oh, wow. You guys have been a total gift to have on the show. I cannot tell you how grateful I am to have you, how much I have personally learned, how much I know our audience is going to get from listening to this episode. How can people help support you? Let me ask you that question of you guys. So if people have clients to send to you, what does your ideal client look like?
Yeah, so we love working with people who are actually not first-time home buyers, which sounds funny. But we actually like to work with people that are upsizing, downsizing, have owned a home before, kind of know the ropes a little bit, but, maybe they haven't had a good experience with a previous agent or something like that. We'd love to be given the opportunity to earn the business of those people. Obviously, we will still work with first-time home buyers, and we have a lot of really great resources to send to them and work together. Again, the networking, we do a lot of networking, so we do have a full pit crew team that can come and help and just make the process relatively stress-free. So yeah, that's our ideal client. And yeah, I don't know if you'd add anything to that.
No, I think it's a team approach. And people can find us. We're on Instagram. Sold by BUY, and then either our first name, last name. So sold by Chelsea Zimmerman, sold by Garrett Zimmerman. And then we're also on Facebook under Team Zimmerman Real Estate. And like I said earlier, if there's people that or you have questions about real estate, we love to talk. We love to get to know people, and we're ready, willing, and available.
Awesome. And whether you want to connect with them, I certainly encourage people to connect with you and have that conversation on social media. And whether you've got people to send their way, or whether you just want to check out what they're doing on social media, you do want to hit them up, because you guys have some really cool content. I know you said it's not all about content, but there are some really good content ideas you have as well that other agents can, I think, probably get some inspiration from. So awesome. Thank you guys so much for being on the show. You have been amazing. I can't thank you enough for being part of it. And please reach out to Garrett and Chelsea if you have questions or referrals to place with them in their neck of the woods, or any questions about anything that, you know, might be of interest. All right. Well, this has been a great episode. Hit us up on too, please. You know, we love when you leave us reviews, give us ideas for shows, or if you have any questions for me, you know where to reach me. I'm also all over social media, Instagram and Facebook. And we thank you so much for listening and tuning in. This has been season 5, episode 2 of So You Want to Be a Real Estate Agent. We'll see you next time.
Wondering how people become the go-to market expert in their neighborhoods, like I did with my name on the window and my Main Street office here? Well, this book shares all my secrets and that of many other local top producing agents who are the famous agent in their marketplace. You can get your copy of Farming for Real Estate Agent anywhere books are sold.